Hello, welcome pen friends. My name is Chris and I'm back with another ink profile. We are working our way through the ink flight number 24, which is from January 2019. And we are doing the Taccia inks. Today we're doing blue black. Aoguro. I'm not sure how you say that. But I have a really special interest in this because I've been wanting to find a really good blue black that I really liked a lot, so I could get a bottle of it and have that major color group covered. And I know I have a pen friend who's also looking for a blue black. So let's get in and see what I found out. I learned quite a bit, even though I don't have that many samples of the blue black ink. But let's put this in the bath test because I'd like to continue to learn what this ink does when it gets wet. Well, I guess I was a little skittish about the water, so I didn't put too much in here. There, okay. I just want to make sure it's covered completely, and then we'll let it do its thing. Okay, and then this is a follow-up on the last ink. The last one was the olive green, and oddly enough, it looks blue, right? But that's what our outcome was, so I wanted to let you know. Okay, so let's get right into the Rhodia Gold book. And our spread is filling up. We've just got 2 more inks in this left. And here it is. Here's today's blue black. It looks kind of dark there, but we're going to see it a variety of places. We've done 1 spread and we're on to the final home stretch here. Okay, so just like all the others in this series, this ink really flowed out of the pen wonderfully. It just beautifully. And of course, it looks dark right now, and we've got lighting issues. We've got a nice natural light, but still, I hope you can see some of that red sheen. There's quite a bit of kind of subtle red sheen on there. That's the Tomoe River sample that's taped in. And then it's just the same. I'm going to sound like a broken record. It's the same experience with, so far, this is the 5th ink, and all of them just flow so beautifully out of the nibs. I just really like it. And so my first impressions of this specific one is that, it kind of reminded me at first of the Diamine Oxford Blue, but I thought the Oxford Blue was too dry, and that is a little bit different of a category. I'm much happier with this shade here, and I did find some comparables we'll look at in a minute. But you can get this 3 places in the U.S. that I found, there may be more, at Anderson Pens, Pen Chalet, and Van Ness. So at Pen Chalet you can get a 4 ml sample of these inks, and Anderson it's 3 ml. So I thought that was good to know. This is the outcome of the chromatography. I thought that was a little weird, but I did it exactly the same as the others, and this is how it came out. So there you have it. Okay, let's get into the Cafe Note with Tomoe River paper in it by Nanami Paper Company. So I did the same thing as always. Broad nib on the left, Lamy fine nib on the right. I had to dip here. I remembered I'd written a whole letter, so you see kind of a darkening from this point on. And that's because of that fact that I had forgotten I'd written a whole 3-page letter, and I came over and started to do this and realized, so, but that's not too much of a difference. It did get darker. I'm hoping that with some of the papers, it won't darken up so much and you can actually see what I'm seeing. The camera and lighting always add a lot to it. So, there's that one, and then another of my favorite places to see ink is this little book, the Nemesine notebook. Here we go. Now, this kind of helps. This shows the shade, the variances in the shade, how dark it can be. And it's got red sheen right here. A little bit up here, too. That's not something I would say that I could see real well with the individual letters. But wherever you lay it on real thick, you can see it. So there we have it. This was the Moonman Mini glass nib pen, which writes more like a medium nib. And I never had to re-dip, so I started here and went on to here with no re-dipping. So that's just for your information. Okay, so as far as paper samples, here we are on Tomoe River paper, 52 gram. And I'm really hoping I can get a view of that. You can see that red sheen surely there on the swatch here. And I was just super happy with how it went out of both pens on this paper. No problems at all. And it held up. It looked nice and dark. I really liked it in that. Now, on Clairefontaine paper, 90 gram French rule. That's where we're at. Now, on this one, I didn't see quite as much of the red sheen, but a little at the top where I maybe laid the ink on a little bit thicker. Okay, and again, no problems. You remember in the past, I've had problems a little bit with the ink feeling really, really dry on Clairefontaine, but not with this ink. Same pens. We're dealing with the same two pens, basically, that I normally use. Okay, and then next is Rhodia 80 gram dot grid. A little bit of red sheen showing up here at the top, just like on the Clairefontaine. And a totally nice writing experience with the broad and the Lamy fine nib. And next I've got a new addition. Pen friend and pen pal Brian sent me a little sample of some paper that I hadn't tried. It's called Hamelin OPTIK, 90 gram paper. And I'm considering purchase of a notebook made out of this paper, so I thought I'd add it into the rotation for us here too, and we could learn a little bit about it just by, you know, doing the ink reviews with this paper. So there's the sheen there, you can see that. And you can see kind of the color gradation. You can see how light it gets in that one corner. But yeah, it was really smooth on here. Let's see if we can, let's pull the Clairefontaine, even though it's got all that, the letters. Let's see here. It was a similar experience. It's going to be really hard for me, though, to compare them. I guess we could compare pieces at a time. Yeah, that's pretty awkward, hard for me with this setup. But I know that when I was writing, it was certainly a nice experience. Now let's turn this one over. I don't usually do that because we know it's not bleeding, the inks just aren't bleeding through. When they do, I always tell you. But there's just no bleed through at all on this. I mean, and there's barely any, there's none really, ghosting or anything. So let's see how that compares to the Clairefontaine. See, that's the same kind of story. That paper is really nice, and what I saw of it, it's fairly affordable, but I'll link you what he sent to me as a link so that, excuse me, if I was going to purchase, I'd have the link. And I want to give that to you too, because this is a nice option. And it comes out clean with a, like perforation. I don't know if you can see that. It's perforated, so you could use it for letters too. And anyway, that's a new addition to our lineup. And then here's the Leuchtturm 1917 dot grid. I test this every time if I can because of bullet journal work that I do in writing. Every week I pick a new color for my bullet journal. So here it is in the broad and in the fine. And I don't even know why I turned it over. I knew it didn't bleed through. I'll always tell you if it did, because that's something that's important. Here's the Office Depot College Rule paper, which is probably, that notebook is probably going to be replaced with this one. If I can get my hands on one, you know, when I get my next little amount of money that I'm willing to spend, I'm going to get some of those. Because I've been looking for a replacement. But here's the broad and here's the fine, and just absolutely no problems. Just so smooth and free-flowing on all the paper that I use. And you've just seen all the paper that I use because there it was. Okay, so let's check in on this and then we'll look at our comparison panel. Okay, so this is, wow. Okay, that's an even darker version of what happened with this, with the olive green one. It's nice and dark, and yet, you know, you're not going to like that for an envelope probably without covering it over in some way. It would get pretty fuzzy if it fell in a puddle. Okay, so here's our panel. Let's try to get it straight. Okay, right smack in the middle is our ink of the day, the Taccia Aoguro Blue Black. And this is really interesting because I don't have every single blue black sample there is. In fact, I was starting to make a list. I don't have it right next to me. And there are a couple more that I kind of would like to look at. Hold on, I'll get that. I guess I guess the two that I really want to look at are Lamy Blue Black and Pelikan Edelstein Tanzanite. Those are two that I ran across while I was researching for this video that I don't have and I'd like to try. So, really the closest I came in my samples was Aurora Blue Black, and I really liked that ink, but I'd have to write with it again to refresh myself whether it's as flowy as the Taccia. Now, for some of you, you're not going to want an ink that comes out like a fire hose, but I do. I really do. I like a nice wet writer, and a lot of my pens, you know, steel nibs, and they're not flexible, and they need kind of a nice smooth flowing ink. So but I will probably test this again, but I don't know, because Aurora is bound to be more expensive than the Taccia. At least, you know, it may not be per mil, but I could get my hands on a bottle of this for $12, so this may be my choice. I really like the ink. And then, you know, there's several other really pretty ones, but I kind of like the darkness of this one. And that little bit of red sheen doesn't bother me whatsoever. I like it. So, you know, there's quite a variety here, but nothing came really, really close. But when I looked at Noodler's 54th Mass, which you can tell, I still did the water. Well, maybe you can't tell that, but I mean, it's pretty permanent. Let's put it that way. So it didn't move around or anything. So that's a different class of ink. And you know, if you're just looking for a regular fountain pen ink, these two are not really comparable because this is permanent. But anyway, this was really fun to dig them out and look at them and to realize, well, I don't have all the different ones that I'd like to try, but I'm pretty close and probably have enough to do the comparisons. So this was how it turned out. Let's see. There's really nothing real remarkable here because it kind of depends on whether you want to go dark, which, you know, this segment here is pretty dark. And then the Caran d'Ache Magnetic Blue, it's a blue black, but it's quite a bit lighter. And so is Noodler's Blue Black. In fact, it's a lot more blue than black, so very interesting. And I really like this one too, the Diatramentus Night Blue Sherlock Holmes, but to me that's not quite black enough in a blue black. So I hope this will help any of you who are trying to, you know, get ideas about what might be your best bet for a blue-black ink. And then next we will look at the visual journal, which I'm kind of having a ho-hum time with that lately. It hasn't been coming out very good, but I don't know whether it's this series of inks or what the issue is. But I've lost a piece. Wow, that's not good. Things like to hide on this desk. Okay, so here's one of them that I did, but again, I went in to add some detail, and it was black. It was just like dark dots. So then I added water. So it looks like I have a treetop in the middle of nothing. I got a little bit frustrated with that. It like moves around really good, but I've been testing out using a little less water. So what I ended up doing was I did it here in the journal, and I would have been okay. This was kind of cute, you know, having a bird in the sky and having an almost tree, but I got carried away here, and it just looks like you can't get rid of it because it's permanent enough. It's not permanent, the ink. It moves around, as you can see, but this is what happens with this technique, and that's why this is like an art journal or a visual journal. It's not a finished product. So next I just decided to just blob the water down in a circle, put ink down, and just see what happened. Because, you know, I was feeling disgruntled about how I wrecked my picture. But I didn't really wreck it because the way I do art is not, or the way I do things like this, I would come in and just do something else on top of it, probably, you know, some sort of a thing, like a mixed media rather than just leaving it the way it is. So this wasn't very remarkable either. It really moves around quickly. You can tell that by this. Just a little dab of ink, and it's just everywhere, wherever there's water. So it could be that some of my other inks certainly were a little bit more compatible with the whole thing. You know, there's quite a bit of variety, but sometimes an ink is just well suited for it. Like this one was. That was the holiday blend. I don't know why I look over the old ones, because I'll just probably find fault with those too, but there's the green one that had palm trees. That was cool. Yeah, I guess what I've done to myself is I've kind of lost my nerve sometimes, because I'll go in and do something and then it looks so contrived. So then the Tanzanite sky was great. That was great, even though it didn't do anything resembling any kind of landscape. It was still fun. But my best ones, I think, are still in the older one. The older visual journal is just full of good stuff. So this is awkward. Okay, so let's just talk about what's next then. Since my camera seems so low, it's going to hit on there. Oh, next is the one I've been waiting for. The Murasaki Purple. So that'll be the next ink profile. And we've just got these two left. The Aqua Red will be last. It's like, woo, it's bright, bright, shiny. So this will be next. And as far as Op Topic, I don't have very much today, except I did find my ring, but I'm not wearing it because I don't want to lose it again. I'm going to take it to a jeweler and have it resized. I had an alternate ring, a real thick, like, real wide one that I got when I lost the other one for 8 months, but it just falls right off too, and it looks like a bolt on my hand, because I ended up getting a really wide one that it was just like a $20 wedding band, just a tungsten something or other, some kind of an alternative. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so next we'll be back with purple, and I hope that you enjoyed seeing these blue blacks. Let me know if you have a favorite. One of my favorite videos was by Fig Boot on Pens, and he did one that I'm going to try to find. I looked earlier and couldn't find it, where he chose his favorite ink out of each of the main categories, and blue black was one of them, and that was the first time I ever really thought about how a blue black would be really nice to have, and I started to explore them, and that was quite a while ago. So, but I'll look for it. If I can find it, I'll link it for you. So, I'll see you back with the Murasaki Purple, and thank you very much for being here. Bye for now.